Welcome to the Eagles Checkdown, right here on the Eagles Pinpull Podcast Network. I'm your host, Phil Stiefel, at Bearded Knowledge on most social media platforms, and it is Overreaction Monday as the Eagles, and we recap their 28-3 dominant victory over the New York Giants. And there's a lot to overreact to, but we've got to remember that it's Overreaction Monday, and there is a lot of pros and a few cons that throughout the week we will get into as we settle in after this victory. And it was a heck of a victory. It was almost a boring victory to an extent. Oh, I had my nephew over, my 8-year-old nephew. He wanted to watch a football game with his uncle. So he came over. I had a spread for him. By the middle of the third quarter, he was ready to go home because he was bored. Because for an 8-year-old to pay attention to a game like today, it was pretty boring. To tell you how boring Sunday's football game was against the Giants for the Eagles, these stats are from Shane Haff, the big boss man here at the Pinpull Podcast Network. During post-game live, he spat it out. 16 total passing yards for the Eagles in the second half of the game. The Giants, even worse, only 12 passing yards in the second half of the game. Anyway, that's how boring of a game it was. But it was a boring game because the Eagles probably realized at some point today what the identity of this football team is, and it is they are a running football team, and you can dominate football games by running the football. The Eagles had a combined, counting the one pass by Kenny Pickett late in the game, a combined 15 passes. They were sacked. We'll get into that in a second. To 45 rushing attempts from Saquon Barkley, Kenneth Gainwell, Jalen Hurts, and heck, even Will Shipley got 8 rushes late in the game. Obviously, star of the football game is Saquon Barkley on his return to MetLife Stadium. 17 carries, 176 yards, and a touchdown. Could have had more in this game. Kenny Gainwell had 13 carries for 56 yards. You had 30 rushes from your top 2 running backs for over 230 yards rushing. That is a dominant performance from your running backs, from your running game, from your blocking on the offensive line in run protection or run blocking. Now, the offensive line did struggle in pass protection, giving up 5 sacks, 4 to Jalen Hurts. Some were Jalen Hurts' fault, some were the offensive line's fault. But this team should be, going forward, looking at ways to continue to run the game. Again, they went another first quarter without scoring any points. They did get a first down on the first drive, first one all year, but then proceeded to go 3 and out after that first down and not score the rest of the first quarter or move the football. So the slow starts are there still. But again, the play calling early in the games is still a question. But once they realize in this game, let's run, and then find A.J. Brown deep when the opportunity presents itself, good things can happen. I mean, if you look at the pros and cons of this game, you can say a con is that this team still doesn't really truly, management of this team, coaching this team, realize that football, this Eagles team, is dominant when they are focused on running the football. A.J. Brown obviously had another big game tonight for the Eagles. Hurts only threw for 114 yards, but 89 of them went to A.J. Brown, 5 catches, the touchdown, the 41-yard touchdown to him. Devontae Smith was pretty much non-existent. Capitera had a catch. Barkley had 2 catches. Could have had a third, but Jalen Hurts missed him and didn't see him wide open in the flat for a potential touchdown later in the game. But it is what it is. It's an A.J. Brown and Saquon Barkley show, and you let Jalen Hurts be the game manager that he could be. Jalen Hurts doesn't have to be this big, splashy guy making big plays all the time. When you're not getting 8 guys in the box or you're going up against a weaker defense like the Giants, you just run the football. And the running of the football sets up the big plays. It seems so simple, but it's something that the Eagles just coaching staff, philosophy-wise, don't stay focused on. It was a stress-free game because of it. And on top of it, we do have to remember it is the Giants. The Giants are not a good football team. But the Giants did. The Browns weren't a good football team, and we let them stay in it. The Eagles did what good teams do. They took care of business this week against a bad team. And it also went because the Eagles defense shut down a very bad Giants offense. Daniel Jones didn't even throw for 100 yards in the game, 99 complete passing yards. They held them to 76 yards rushing. There was some late runs later in the game that were a few yards, 4.2 yards a carry. Malik Neighbors only had 4 catches for 41 yards. You were able to sack Daniel Jones alone 7 times, 8 total sacks for the Eagles defense. Jalen Carter had 2. N'Kobe Dean had 2. Nolan Smith got a sack. Bryce Huff got a sack. Josh Sweat set the tone early with a sack. Jelks Hunt got a sack late in the game. 8 sacks on defense. Still no interceptions for Quinny Mitchell. He's so close. When is he going to get it? But the Eagles defense used the great performance from last week, and we talked about it earlier last week on this show, stacking good performances. And they were able to do that this week. They haven't given up 20 points in the last 2 weeks combined now as a defense. So the defense is gaining some momentum, gaining some confidence. They're going to need it next week against the Bengals, who won today or on Sunday. So what we're talking about is, what is the identity of this football team? It might turn out to be that the identity of this football team is a running football team that plays hard-nosed, smash-mouth football. And you saw some big hits from the defense. Some guys, I'm not going to name names, that still are a little scared to lay the boom or to make a tackle on the Eagles defense. But we'll get to that as the week goes on. It's Overreaction Monday for a reason. We're just here to overreact, go over the box score, and talk about the good. And as the week goes on, we'll get into some of the lesser things as this game goes on. But yes, or as this week goes on. But it's so good, it's so refreshing to see that it took a quarter, but once they figured out that it was hand the football off to Saquon Barkley, hand it off to even Kenny Gainwell, and play good defense, good things can happen. You dominate about 35 to 25 in time of possession was the approximate numbers there. You didn't commit turnovers throughout the game. No stupid turnovers throughout the game. There were a few, but they weren't stupid turnovers in big moments. You took care of business, and that's all you can ask for your team. There's no need for this to be a close game. I can't even remember the last time the Eagles won by double digits. It's been so long. But again, game ball goes to Saquon Barkley. Game ball goes to the defense and the sacks and the pressure. Game ball goes to Daniel Jones for being a terrible quarterback. I can't believe he is still the quarterback of this football team of the Giants. That's what. But to tease later in this week, as I see the all-22 footage, as I see the detailed analytic breakdown, Jalen Hurts did miss open receivers at times. Obviously, the big play, the Saquon Barkley that should have been a touchdown, was missed. But also, there was a few times he missed wide open Devontae Smith. There was still some questionable play calling. He stayed in the pocket a few times too many. Now, some of it was the pressure getting at him. And the Giants are one of the top sack teams in the NFL. So getting 5 sacks on the Eagles, 4 on Hurts, and one on Kenny Pickett, it is what it is. But that offense still at times, we'll get into that later in the week. Because I don't want to focus on the negative today. I want to focus on the positive. And the positive is that Saquon Barkley was worth every single penny that he was given. A.J. Brown is worth every single penny that he was given. And this defense and Vic Fangio are starting to build something. This is a defense. And if I remember correctly, if you look at Dolphins last year, their defense started off weak and got better as the season went along, as the players started to adjust to Vic Fangio's style. And it's good, as we got the Bengals next week, then the Jaguars, the week after that. Then we get into a tougher stretch of the schedule with Cowboys, Baltimore, etc. We're going to need this defense to keep building on this. Anyway, guys, this is the Eagles Checkdown, the fastest, less than 10-minute Eagles podcast there is, Monday through Friday, right here on the Eagles Pinball Podcast Network. If you want a longer form of this, check me out, trending in the AM, Monday through Friday, 8 a.m. to 9:30 a.m. on the STT Sports Network, linked below. Well, copy and paste the link below. I'd greatly appreciate it. Subscribe. I greatly appreciate you checking in. Your opinions actually matter, and that's what my goal is with the morning show trending in the AM, guys. So I greatly appreciate you checking it out live in the morning at 8 a.m., guys. I am Phil Stiefel. You can find me at Bearded Knowledge on all social media platforms. Have a great day. Go Birds, and bubbles up to you.